Welcome to Pinnacle's NFL Best Bets for Week 16. I'm Anthony Bruno, joined by Scott Cullen on behalf of Pinnacle, your trusted sportsbook for over 25 years, offering the best odds and best payouts, especially on the Week 16 NFL slate. We are coming off a very solid Week 15. Scott is on fire. He swept his picks last week. I also had a pretty good week. Hit that Tim Patrick anytime touchdown at plus 338. Scott, stay hot, man, because I think you've hit like your last 5 picks on this show. Where are you looking to for your first best bet on the Week 16 slate?
Yeah, you know what? I am going to stick with the Minnesota Vikings, and I'm taking them -3 at even money at Seattle. And, early in the season, it looked like the Vikings, they were having some success, but I think there was some question whether it was going to be sustainable. We don't know about Sam Darnold, whether that's going to last. And I think now that we've gone 14 games into the season, we can say that it's going to last. They're battling for the best record in the NFC with a 12-2 mark, and they have the underlying numbers to back it up. They're ranked second in EPA per play on defense. They're sixth in DVOA overall. This is a good football team. They have a plus 117 score differential, and they're taking on a Seahawks team. Well, the Seahawks, they're battling for a playoff spot. They're trying to compete for the NFC West title, but they also have a score differential of +2. They're ranked 18th in DVOA, and Geno Smith hurt his knee last week. He's probably going to play this week, but he may be banged up. Kenneth Walker, their running back, has missed the past couple of games. They still don't know whether he's going to play this week. And so I look at the Vikings here. They're just the better team, and I think they're going to be able to cover the field goal spread on the road.
And on top of that, even Zach Charbonnet, I saw him pop up on the injury report as well. He's banged up too, so who knows what that Seahawks backfield is going to look like. But you said it about the Vikings. They might be the most disrespected 12-2 team I think I've ever seen.
Well, I think a lot of this comes with Darnold, right? Is that his history has been inconsistent and nobody really trusted him. But how many games into the season do you need to go before you decide to trust him? Because the numbers are there this year. And so I have become more of a believer as the season has gone on. I was certainly one of the skeptics early on that I wasn't sure this would last. But, maybe you give him Justin Jefferson every week, and that makes the passing game a whole lot better.
Yeah, Darnold's been dialed in. What a job by Kevin O'Connell. But this Vikings team, yeah. I agree. They're legit. All right, for my first best bet, I am looking at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers -4 at plus 101 on the road against the Dallas Cowboys. At the time of recording, this is the best price in the market. Listen, the Cowboys have won 3 of their last 4 games, but I think this is a perfect spot to fade this team. The Bucs are on fire right now. They've won 4 straight. They're looking to win the NFC South. They have a 1-game lead on the Falcons. 6 of their 8 wins this year have come by double digits. I don't know how much you look into the home road splits, but the Cowboys have been a disaster at home this year. 1-6 at home with a -118 point differential. But now that I got all those stats out of the way, the one area that I think the Cowboys are going to struggle in this game is running the football. So they've won 3 of their last 4 games. And if you look at how Rico Dowdle has played in those games, he's been really good. He's run for 100-plus yards 3 games in a row. The game before that, he had 86 yards on the ground. But now he's going up against a very solid Tampa Bay Buccaneers run defense. They are 8th in defensive rush EPA. That's going to put a lot more pressure on Cooper Rush. This is not going to be the terrible run defenses that the Cowboys have faced over the last 4 weeks. So that's going to put Cooper Rush and the passing attack in a pretty tough spot if they're not able to run the ball effectively. And the Bucs offense, I feel like we've been talking about them all year. Baker Mayfield has been great. They can beat you through the air. They can beat you on the ground. 5th in EPA per play on offense. 4th in success rate. The only concern I have is the Bucs Wednesday injury report. They had a walkthrough, but a lot of their starters did not participate, like Baker Mayfield, Mike Evans, Cade Otton, Sterling Shepard, Tristan Wirfs on the offensive line. So that has me a little concerned, but I would like to believe that it's more of like a veteran maintenance day, and I'm expecting all of these guys to play. So yeah, hopefully they do play. And if they do, I really like this number, -4 plus 101.
Yeah, I think we can fairly discount your pick if Baker Mayfield and Mike Evans don't play. the injury report always matters. But you know what, the Cowboys, and we've hammered them against them this year, and I think deservedly so. And in this matchup, I think they run into a real problem is that the Bucs offense is very high powered and provided everyone plays. And Mayfield, if he puts up points, I don't know how Cooper Rush counters that. The Cowboys aren't really capable of generating that much offense. And look, some of this is this is a function. There's a whole series of stories this year about how Jerry Jones is not spending money on his football team, that he is spending money on other things. And so the most valuable football team in the NFL does not spend enough money, and so they lack depth. And so when they have injuries, you end up with players who aren't quality NFL players taking their place. And so this is a prime example here where provided the Bucs are healthy, they probably have more talent on the field, and they're just gonna run away from Dallas. I believe it.
If you've been betting against the Dallas Cowboys all season, I would imagine you've been pretty profitable. So
Totally.
Hopefully it continues this week. All right, Scott, what is your second best bet on the slate?
All right, my second best bet, we're going to a player prop, going to Detroit Lions wide receiver Jameson Williams. Scored a touchdown against Buffalo last week. He has 5 touchdowns in 12 games that he's played this season, and is going against Chicago Bears defense. Now, the Bears' pass defense was exceptional early in the season. They'd given up 5 touchdowns to wide receivers through the first 9 games. But in the past 5 games, they've given up 6 touchdowns. And so there's a bit of a trend there. And the other underlying pass defense numbers for the Bears have gotten steadily worse. Basically, since the Hail Mary game against Washington, the pass numbers have just gotten steadily worse for the Bears. And with the Lions coming off a loss, I expect them to want to bounce back and put up some numbers. And I think Jameson Williams has a good chance to be a big part of that. And at plus 194, I think the odds are actually pretty good. For a guy who scored 5 touchdowns in 12 games, David Montgomery isn't going to be playing in the Lions backfield. So maybe if they're in tight, they might be a little bit more inclined to pass the ball. And that, again, gives another opportunity for Williams to score. So he's my pick for my second best bet this week.
I love it, man. You've been on fire with these player props. And with a guy like Jameson Williams, he's such an explosive player that he can pretty much score from anywhere on the field. So, yeah, sign me up. Plus 194. I am looking at a player prop as well. And that is Bijan Robinson when the Atlanta Falcons host the New York Football Giants. So this yesterday was at 89.5, but I am going to be taking him. I still like this number over 91.5 rushing yards and minus 117. So the big story in this game is obviously that Michael Penix Jr. is going to be making his first career NFL start, replacing the terrible Kirk Cousins. So the Falcons are big favorites in this game. At the time of recording, they're 10-point favorites right now. But here's the thing. We don't really know what to expect from Penix, right? I think it's reasonable to expect that he's going to be better than Kirk Cousins has looked the last 4 or 5 weeks because he's been awful. But you really don't know what to expect out of Penix. But I also think it's very reasonable to expect that the Falcons are going to rely on their running game in this spot. Yeah. Right? Just thinking about this logically, you don't want to put Penix in a position where he's throwing the ball like 35 plus times. You have Bijan Robinson, who has been cooking recently, and his workload has spiked over the last 3 games. He has 22 plus carries over his last 3 and has run for 92 plus yards in all 3 games. It's the most carries he's had in a 3-game stretch all season. And this is set up perfectly because this Giants defense is terrible. 28th in EPA per play on defense, 24th in rush EPA. And here's another stat to pass along. So 6 running backs have had at least 17 carries against the Giants this season, and 5 of those 6 backs have run for over 100 yards. So if we can get 20 plus carries out of Bijan Robinson, who, like I said, has had 22 plus carries in 3 straight games, in a spot that you would imagine the Falcons are going to rely on their running game, I think Bijan could have a massive game against the Giants.
Yeah, and when you look at the way some other running backs have gashed the Giants, and even the teams where they happen to split the workload more, where maybe one guy doesn't do it, but both Like, even against Baltimore last week, Derrick Henry and Rasheen Ali combined for 99 rushing yards on 22 carries. Like you could see all 22 of those carries go to Bijan this week. And so I expect Atlanta's going to have a sizable lead because that's how things are going for the Giants these days. And they'll just keep handing off and giving him opportunities to churn out the clock. And so I think that's, great pick, even though the number keeps going up.
Yeah, get on this number now before it goes even higher. And listen, I know Tyler Algier is involved in this running attack as well. He's going to get, his fair share of touches. But Bijan, I'm still expecting him to get 20 plus carries in this spot. So I think he's in for a massive game. There's one more best bet that I want to sneak in here, and it is the Green Bay Packers. We talked about how the Vikings have been a disrespected 12-2 team, and then you have this Packers team that's just kind of quietly chugging along, 10-4. Jordan Love's been playing really well. They are 14-point favorites at home against the Saints this week. I'm not going to be touching the spread, but I like the Packers team total over 27.5 at -121. Maybe this is more of a gut feel, but I think that the Packers are in a let's beat the wheels off this team spot. Think about this. Primetime game, Monday Night Football, Lambeau Field. The temperatures aren't going to be crazy cold, but it's their first home game in a month. That crowd is going to be rocking. The Packers have put up 30 plus points in each of their last 4 games. Like I said, Jordan Love's having a good year. He's 4th in EPA per play among quarterbacks this season. Where I think they're really going to be able to take advantage of the Saints is on the ground. The Saints run defense this year, 29th in rush EPA, 30th in rushing success rate, which sets up well for Josh Jacobs. I think the Packers will be able to move the ball on this team, whether it's on the ground, through the air. The Packers also one of the best teams in the league when it comes to takeaways. They're 4th in the NFL with 26 takeaways. They should be able to cause some problems for Spencer Rattler. So I think this is a spot where they could really put the hammer down and score 30 plus points. So I like them at over 27.5 for their team total at -121.
Yeah, they could cause some problems for Spencer Rattler, who the Saints weren't willing to start last week. That does seem like it's going to be a tough matchup for New Orleans, and the point spread obviously reflects that. But this does seem like a wild mismatch in the way the Packers have been playing. It's funny how you mentioned how they're kind of disrespected, and it's because you're in the same division as the Lions and the Vikings, who are both 12-2. That 10-4 record just kind of slides under the radar. But I think the Packers are closing the gap on those top 2 teams. That I think as we head towards the playoffs, that all 3 of these teams in the NFC North are very high quality. And so, when they end up with a matchup against a home game against the New Orleans Saints team that is in serious trouble, you can very reasonably expect the Packers to put up points.
Yeah, good luck to Spencer Rattler, because I think this is going to be a very long night on Monday at Lambeau Field. All right, that is going to do it for our Week 16 NFL Best Bets. Like I say every single week, whether you're betting on main markets, player props, futures, you need to be betting at Pinnacle Sportsbook, because we have the best odds and best payouts in the industry. If you don't believe me, just go check yourself. Go check the slate. Go compare our odds to any other sportsbook in the industry. More often than not, you are going to see that Pinnacle has the best odds, and it's all because of our low margins. So for Scott Cullen, I'm Anthony Bruno. Have fun watching the Week 16 NFL slate. Cash some tickets. And remember to bet smart and bet Pinnacle.